Keeping it honest, insightful, interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond. You're listening to the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Yeah, a good Saturday afternoon to you all. This is the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. I am your host, the Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. Thank you all so much for checking out today's episode, coming at you live right now on March 2nd, 2013. Can you believe it, folks? It's already March. We are just going to be a few months away from having the first half of 2013 in the books. I mean, this year has just been going by pretty fast so far. It's ridiculous, quite honestly. And if you're over here on the East Coast, especially around the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, we've been dodging some serious bullets when it comes to the snow. Been very fortunate this year. Welcome to those of you that's checking out today's show. As always, we have the chat room loaded up for you all at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. Feel free to jump in when you get a free moment. You can take the time out to interact with yours truly during the course of today's episode, as we're going to be going over a number of topics as we get you guys caught up on the very latest for what you might have missed this week in wrestling from WWE, TNA. We'll also hook you up with the very latest in Ring of Honor news, wrestling news. You know how we do it over here. Hook you up with a little bit of entertainment news and beyond. While you're at it, you can also interact with us on Twitter. You can do so by hitting us up at Infinity1Prod. All right, so without any further ado, boys and girls, let's go on ahead and let's jump right into it. And once again, I do hope that y'all are having a fantastic weekend so far. Let's rewind it back. So this past Monday night on WWE Raw, which really came off as a WWF Attitude Era type of episode, we saw the return of Big Daddy Mac, Vince McMahon. We saw the return of Triple H, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar. This just really had a nice old school feel to it, and it's hard to believe when I say old school, as some of you out there that's been watching wrestling for a long time, you're thinking probably that the Attitude Era, 90s, that, you know, it's still kind of yesterday, but that's now kind of considered old school as well. But we saw the return of Triple H, who just really brought it to Brock Lesnar, as originally this was supposed to be a Mr. McMahon versus Paul Heyman match, but it didn't even play out that way, folks, as we saw Paul Heyman just beating the living crap out of almost 70-year-old Vince McMahon with a crutch. Luckily, Vince McMahon, he got back on the offense, though, and just when it looked like he was about to have some fun with Heyman, we see the Beast, Brock Lesnar, come out, and it looked as if maybe we were about to get a remastered version of Vince getting F5 3 weeks ago. But we hear the Motorhead music, the time to play the game, and we see the return of the one and only, the Vice President of Talent and Live Relations, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who really just beat the living crap out of Brock Lesnar, in my honest opinion. I know there is definitely those hardcore Brock Lesnar fans that looked at this beating that he had took and were crying BS because of the UFC, MMA, pro wrestling background that Lesnar has. A lot of folks, they weren't really buying into this, and I could definitely appreciate where you all are coming from with regards to that. At the same time, though, this is the route that they had to take to try to make it look as though the old Triple H is back, the badass Triple H, the one that didn't care if you had a mother in a wheelchair and you're trying to push her down the street. He's just going to knock you on your ass, and he's going to push your mom in a wheelchair into the nearest intersection so she can get ran over. That's the vicious, the vindictive Triple H that WWE was trying to instill in our minds this past Monday night. That was their way of letting us know that the old Triple H is back. And, honestly, I would have settled for maybe referees coming out to try to break these guys up rather than see Brock Lesnar get all bloodied open. But I still, quite honestly, enjoyed the way that everything had played out, minus the wet spot that Triple H had going on there. We know a lot of you have pointed that out, and we've been hearing just the jokes that everybody has been making all week about this. Undertaker wasn't the only thing that was trending this week, folks. It was the little wet stain that Triple H had going on during this fight that had a lot of people talking. But overall, it was definitely what was needed to reignite this rivalry and make fans feel invested into it again, I felt. And as I mentioned this past Tuesday night on our Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show with co-host Diamond K, if fans were not convinced that this was going to be a pretty damn good match the second time around to check out, knowing in the back of your mind that this time around Triple H is going to get a W over Brock Lesnar, even with all that, it's still going to be one great match to see. I think these guys are really going to just blow out of the water what they did at SummerSlam. And honestly, I can't wait to see how these two guys lock it up. They have the greatest potential to be one of the match stealers at WrestleMania this year, I feel. Also on WWE Raw, we saw one classic 5-star quality type of match, and the Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, as he took on arch nemesis CM Punk. Stakes couldn't get any higher than this. John Cena's WrestleMania spot was on the line. If CM Punk wins, then it'd be he that goes on to face WWE Champion Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. However, if John Cena wins, that is it for CM Punk. CM Punk, you go to the back of the line. Quit whining, quit bitching, quit crying. That's it. You're done. Work your way from the bottom back up to the top again. That was going to be it for CM Punk. Well, John Cena, when it counted the most, and bear in mind, he has had a poor record when it comes to defeating CM Punk in matches of great significance, finally won the big one. He finally got that big W over CM Punk to end all the speculation that was going on weeks and weeks ago, leading right on up until Monday. And we definitely were giving our take on this, myself and Diamond K. We were strongly under the impression that CM Punk had a shot at getting into this Rock versus John Cena match. It was going to be a triple threat match. A lot of fans, they really loved this idea. We were one of the first guys to jump on this bandwagon. We definitely were. God, I think we were talking about a triple threat match as early as, I want to say, if not Survivor Series, definitely right around Royal Rumble, right before the pay-per-view. That's how long we were talking about the idea of a triple threat match. And I love how WWE, they kind of put a little bit of a teaser out there. It kind of gave you the impression that maybe that was the route that they were going to be going. But when it's all said and done, all the smoke and mirrors, everything's cleared, John Cena has a destiny with The Rock at this year's WrestleMania for the WWE title. It's going to be a one-on-one contest. Of course, CM Punk is now left out in the cold. Whatever is the straight-edge superstar to do, the former best in the world. A lot of you were under the impression that Undertaker was going to be coming back this past Monday night. A lot of you took it to YouTube to make very harsh videos critiquing the shape that The Undertaker was in, talking about how Undertaker popping up at a house show was just a bad idea, that it's all ruined now. And on the contrary, I don't think that was even the case at all. I think it was a great way to build up The Undertaker, kind of get the folks talking. And, I mean, come on, let's be honest. Undertaker popping up at a house show, first time in almost a year that he's popping up at a WWE Wrestling Live event. Hell yeah, that's going to spread like freaking wildfire. And WWE, they've done a brilliant job capitalizing on it. I mean, let's be for real. Undertaker, we've seen him over the years. He's just popped up out the clear blue like he's been there the whole time. You know, it's like, where the hell you come from? And honestly, I think this is a genuine and nice way to slowly build him back into the WWE universe. And they've planted a couple of seeds now. I mean, you just go over the past couple of weeks. Definitely what had went down this past Monday night with CM Punk feeling ever so confident, and then the promo that he cut last week talking about how he's God and all this other stuff. He's immortal. He's an icon. He's a legend. That definitely sets up an Undertaker to return. Now the question is, does Undertaker return next week on old school WWE Raw? And I know Diamond K had said that he really wasn't too keen on the Undertaker appearing at old school Raw, but with only 5 Raws left until WrestleMania, I think this would definitely be the move right now. I think the trigger should be pulled. You got to have Undertaker return this Monday night. I think you need that right now. Otherwise, you're going to have a real tough time trying to justify what all is going on with CM Punk. You definitely need to have a little bit of shock value in there. So I'm definitely am very high on Undertaker popping up on old school Monday Night Raw. So it should be very interesting to see how that plays out. And for the very latest on what you might have missed from this past week on WWE Raw, I definitely encourage you guys to backtrack in our archive section. It's up on here on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show. Episodes also available in the iTunes Zune marketplaces. iTunes and on Stitcher. Just use the keywords the RCWR show. And we had a great in-depth discussion about what all you had missed from this past week's Raw. And we really had jumped out there. We were all over the place this past Tuesday night, but definitely check that out. You don't want to miss that episode. If you did, hey, now's your chance. It's the weekend, nice and slow, gives you a little bit of time to catch up. Definitely be kind and rewind. All right, so we're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we got to talk about the very latest and what you might have missed from this past week's WWE Main Event as seen on the Ion channel. And we'll also hook you up with the very latest from what you might have missed this past week from TNA Impact Wrestling, as it was the return of Impact Wrestling in the United States and the return of them being live from the Orlando studios in Florida. All of this and the very latest fallout from this past week's WWE Friday Night Smackdown. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
For news you can use, like us on Facebook during this commercial break at Infinity One Productions.
Pick things up now. In our last segment, we just got done covering WWE Raw. Now let's talk about what had went down on the main event, as seen on the Ion channel. You know, we saw a damn good match between Sheamus and Cody Rhodes, and this all had came off of a backstage segment where Cody Rhodes, he bumped into WWE Divas Champion Caitlyn, and looks like they've been continuing their little friendly exchange of words. Obviously, there is something there between them, and Cody Rhodes kind of working up the nerve here, maybe to possibly ask her out, got interrupted by Sheamus. And Cody Rhodes wanted to get a little bit of payback from a defeat he suffered from Sheamus a couple of weeks back on Main Event. So he challenged Sheamus once again, and he came up very short. But backstage, Cody Rhodes bumped into Caitlyn again, and Caitlyn didn't even try to rub the defeat in his face. She just told him, basically, believe in the power of the stash. and walked away. So a very interesting development that is continuing on right here between Cody Rhodes and Caitlyn. I'm actually enjoying it. I know there's some people that are a little bit annoyed with this. They don't really think that Cody Rhodes needs to be hooked up with a female right now, that he's doing pretty good on his own. I beg to differ. I think this makes very interesting TV, and I'm definitely curious to see where this combination goes, because these two just seem completely different from one another. They do not seem compatible in any type of way. So I definitely am very curious to see how this continues to play out. We also saw a squash match between Mark Henry and Justin Gabriel. Mark Henry was talking some mad crap during this main event match, saying how Justin Gabriel, how he wanted him to fly now, try to see if he can fly. He really kept that poor boy grounded big time. Rounding out main event was actually the CM Punk versus John Cena match from this past week's Monday Night Raw. So good, they had to show it again, and they showed it in its entirety. I can't recall the last time WWE Raw did something like that, where they had a match that was so damn good from Raw that they had to show it on their other programs. I've never recalled anything like that before in my entire life. I would actually have to do a little bit of homework. I did do some of it leading up to today's show, and I wasn't able to find anything, but I'm going to continue on, see if I can maybe pull up something, and we'll definitely update you guys next Tuesday night on our Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show. But right now, I haven't been able to find another moment like that where WWE, they just kept rehashing it over and over. And honestly, I think it fit perfectly into main event. I mean, because when you think about main event, you think about the great one-on-one matches that they have every single week. Somehow these guys are always able to top what they did the previous week. And if you know me, you know I've always been consistent with giving great praise to main event. And definitely, I thought the way that they rounded out this past week's show definitely was a nice touch, good way to close it out. Cena, Punk, damn good match, and a good treat to those that had missed it from Raw this past Monday. And I can't stress it enough. If you guys did not check out that match, God, if you have cable, 9 times out of 10, you probably have NBC Universal. I know for a fact they're going to be showing Raw this weekend. They usually show WWE programming in a 4 to 6 hour block, so you're more than welcome to go check it out in case you missed it. WWE Fan Nation, I believe they may have it up on their YouTube channel, and it could possibly be up on WWE's website. So go check those two places out, as well as the NBC Universal channel, to see if you can catch that match in its entirety, just in case you missed it. All right, so let's talk about what went down from Impact Wrestling this past week, as it was the return of Impact Live for the first time in over a month. Remember, we didn't get Impact there because they were off in the UK pre-taping episodes. We didn't have Jeff Hardy, as he was in the middle of contract negotiations, and not to mention some of the legal problems that he had in previous years kind of stopped him from going on tour there. So that's why we didn't get him, combination of both of those things. Well, all that was erased. All is forgiven, as we got Impact Live for the first time in over a month at the Orlando Studios in Florida. We had finally saw Jeff Hardy, Bully Ray come head to head. Not quite the face-off I was expecting. Quite honestly, I was expecting a little bit more of a aggressive tone, but it kind of really came off to me like, "Oh, sir, could you please pass the butter?" "Yes, I would be more than willing to pass the butter. May I have some of your jam?" "Yes, you can have some of my jam." "Oh, good jolly old chum, you're such a good chum." "You too." You know, it was just too much kissing up for me. You know, Bully Ray, "Oh, Jeff, I shouldn't even be in this position. Other guys have wrestled for this spot that I have, and I just really feel it was given to me because I'm the son-in-law of Hulk Hogan. I just have no business being in the ring with you, taking you on. And Jeff Hardy going, oh, no, brother, I want to face you. Heck, if it was my decision, I would have picked you. And we've been through a ton of great matches. I can't think of a more better opponent. And, you know, it was just too much kissing up for me. I was really glad to see Daniels and Kazarian interrupt that as pretty much a challenge was issued to DNK, as it was going to be Jeff Hardy teaming up with Bully Ray to take on Daniels and Kazarian. And that was actually a pretty damn good main event match to close out Impact, as we saw the team of Jeff Hardy, Bully Ray win. Guys both getting on the same page right here. Also, main highlight from Impact Wrestling, we got crowned a new X Division champion, and I know there are a ton of TNA fans that are happy with this, as we saw Kenny King defeat Rob Van Dam to become the new champion. We know how some of you have been feeling with regards to Rob Van Dam. You all have been very vocal about him, saying that his time has been over, that his wrestling isn't quite what it used to be, that he just keeps pulling out the same set of simple moves, that it was really time to see new blood get a hold of that X Division title. And quite honestly, I was a little bit shocked that they pulled the trigger on an episode of Impact Live. And if you listen to us this past Thursday night on Impact Showdown Radio, I was very critical of this move being made, as I had said that it would have made more sense to have the fans check it out on pay-per-view. What grander stage of them all than to have Kenny King become champion at Lockdown in San Antonio, Texas? That just really would have been more badass to me. But as Diamond K pointed out, now we're in a position where there's definitely going to be a rematch. We will be seeing these two guys lock it up again, and maybe Kenny King can have an even more impressive performance than what we saw this week. Don't get me wrong, very happy that Kenny King had won. I've followed his career briefly when he was in Ring of Honor, and I was definitely pleased with everything I saw from him over there, and I definitely am happy with the way he's now being utilized, as now it looks like TNA is trying to give him the ball and run with him as their X Division champion. But one thing that I can't help but stress, and I pointed this out this past Thursday night, what is he really a champion of? The X Division is still in a rebuilding process, if you will. And, honestly, if it was me personally, I think that Devon holding that TV title, which has not been defended in several weeks, I think that title should have been either reactivated, and the X Division title should have been put on a hiatus for a while until the X Division can get right back up where it needs to be. And maybe Kenny King should be holding the television title right now. That, to me, would have made a little bit more sense. I don't know about you all, but for me, that definitely makes sense. But, hey, it is what it is. We got to deal with what we have in front of us right now. I'm really hoping that with Kenny King as X Division champion, things can pick up in a big way where we'll see new challengers, and we can definitely get past Rob Van Dam. Of course, just because Rob Van Dam is no longer the X Division champion, folks, it doesn't mean that you can expect to no longer see him chase after a title. I think he's probably still going to be one of those names thrown around to possibly be a future TNA champion. But it wouldn't surprise me if maybe he might, he might go for the tag division. I think really that's the hottest place you want to be right now for TNA, because you got Austin Aries, Bobby Roode. They've just been doing a phenomenal job as a team so far, and I'm enjoying the ride seeing them as the tag champions. One other main highlight that we saw from Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night was Kurt Angle, who decided to act like the goddamn Batman and he was on a one-man crusade as he stalked Aces and Eights, following them to their clubhouse. And he just proceeded to beat everybody up one by one until he was left standing face-to-face, toe-to-toe with VP of Aces and Eights. Two guys fight it out. Kurt Angle takes a bottle to VP's head. He takes the mask off, and we do not get to see who VP is, as Kurt Angle stands in shock, saying, "How could you? What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do this?" And we see Aces and Eights members, they jump him from behind, and they just proceed to beat him down as Impact Wrestling goes off the air to just leave you saying, "God freaking dang it, can I see who the heck this guy is?" So now you got a lot of buzz going into next Thursday night. Here's the main question you guys should be thinking about for you TNA wrestling fans. Is Kurt Angle going to make it to the Lockdown pay-per-view to take on Wes Briscoe, who surprisingly was not at this past week's Impact Live? It was only Garrett Bischoff that was there, along with other Aces and Eights members. If Wes Briscoe was there, I sure as hell didn't see him. But here's the other thing that you guys got to think about. If Kurt Angle doesn't make it to the Lockdown pay-per-view, then what's going to happen here? Is this a scenario where Aces and Eights, they're going to kidnap him just like they did Joseph Park? What exactly is going to go down with the Olympic gold medalist? So you got a lot of buzz that's going on right there. I definitely can't wait to see how this is going to play out. I would be a little bit perplexed to see Kurt Angle just pop up next week and say, "I was in the fight of my life, but, VP, you need to come out right now and explain yourself." And I know the million-dollar question that's on a lot of you all's minds right now is, okay, who the heck is VP? Well, we've heard some names that's being thrown out there. If you really want to pick my brain and you want me to throw a couple out there for you guys, Joseph Park is one that kind of jumps out there at me. Another name that kind of jumps out there, possibly Vince Russo. I don't know, man. I still got to go with Scott Steiner. I got to go with that name just for the hell of it. Could be Bully Ray. Could be Hulk Hogan. Definitely is not Eric Bischoff. Whoever that VP guy is, he is just massively freaking huge. I mean, he's a wide dude, man. I don't think that would be Bischoff, but whatever the case may be, definitely is going to have a lot of people tuning in next week. And just in case you might have missed it, Impact Wrestling, they did pretty damn good in the ratings this week. They actually did a 1.14 rating, better than what they did last week. And I think you have to take in the combination that with Jeff Hardy returning, that had got them an increase in key male demographics ranging from 18 to 39 and 18 to 46. So Jeff Hardy helped in those demographics. And then you just throw in the whole combination of Impact Wrestling returning live this week. Really, you had hands down a pretty solid episode leading into the Lockdown pay-per-view. For more on what you might have missed from this past week's TNA Impact Wrestling, I definitely highly encourage you guys to Be Kind Rewind, backtrack to the archive section. It's up on here on Blog Talk Radio / the RCWR show. You can also download it in the iTunes, Stitcher marketplaces, all your respectable portable devices. Check out Impact Showdown Radio with me and Diamond K. We really went in depth about Impact Wrestling, talked about the TNA gut check as we saw the beautiful Iva Lee's take on Lady Tampa. That was a daggone good match right there. We also covered very latest and what happened in TNA Wrestling News. We went real in depth about who could possibly be behind Aces and Eights. You definitely want to check it out. It was a damn good episode that we did. All right, so we're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we'll cover the very latest from this past week's WWE Friday Night Smackdown. Definitely was a good episode. It was the social media Smackdown edition. We'll give you guys the 411 on that in case you might have missed it, and we'll also hook you up with the very latest from Ring of Honor wrestling news and a little bit more. And hey, you know it's coming. We got to cover the very latest and what has you all talking, whether it be locally or just in general. You know how we do it over here on the weekend edition of the RCWR show. So kick on back, relax. We're going to be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight. Weekend edition of the RCWR show is back. I'm your host, the Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. You know, before we go any further, I want to take this time out to thank you, our loyal listeners, for checking out all the episodes that we produced last month of February, as you had made February be a very strong month for us, especially with our live listens. I was looking at the numbers the other day, and I was very, very pleased with what I had saw. We have been off to a very strong start since the new year began, and we definitely want to just take this time out, humbly thank all of you for continuing to support us by checking out our episodes. And, hey, remember, you guys, you know, we love it when you all leave feedback, you know, when you leave reviews. If you haven't done so, take the time out to hit us up in iTunes. You can just do a Google search and just type in the RCWR show, iTunes. And or if you have iTunes on your desktop, then, you know, just launch the application that way and just pull us up. Submit a review for us. I see we got a couple of people that had took the time out to give us some ratings, and we definitely love it when people go out of their way to leave us comments and leave an honest review. We love that. So if you appreciate the show, definitely show your support and leave a review for us. But once again, thank you for making February be a damn good, strong month for us. And we should let you know that in just 2 weeks, hard to believe it, but in 2 weeks, we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary. It's a huge milestone for us. And it's hard to believe, but after 175 episodes later, here we are. I'm excited about it, and all month long we're going to be celebrating. We're going to have special guests that's going to be coming by the show. One name I want you guys to know about right now, and I want you guys to mark it on your calendar, as we broke the news to you all first this past Thursday night on Impact Showdown Radio. But just in case you didn't catch it, as we know there's a lot of you that love checking out our weekend edition, mark it on your calendar, Saturday, March 30th, helping close out our 1-year anniversary celebration is going to be the one and only former TNA Knockouts champion, WWE Diva, currently Shine Wrestling's own Amazing Kong, is going to be stopping by the weekend edition of the RCWR show. Once again, that's going to be Saturday, March 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Amazing Kong's going to be joining me for a cool one-on-one interview, so you definitely want to check that out. And that's not the only name that we're going to have that's going to be stopping by the show to help us celebrate. We're definitely trying to put the finishing touches on a couple of people that I'm eyeballing, see if we can make it happen and get them onto the show. Definitely got some surprises for you guys, so we'll continue to keep you guys updated, and for the very latest, check us out at InfinityOneProductions.com. And that's pretty much it. But I'm loving it, man. I'm excited, man. 1-year anniversary. I'm pumped. Couldn't ask for anything more. For those that keep asking about what's going on with T-shirts, we had ran into a little bit of a hiccup a couple of months back. I was very close to ironing out a deal for some shirts, and I had a problem with the way that it came out, and I decided I wanted to try to look into going with a different shirt distributor. I'm looking at a couple of people, but I'm really trying to take my time because whoever I end up working with for the T-shirts, I definitely wanted to be somebody I work with on a long-term basis, so that's really the hold-up right now. But I promise you guys, very soon we will have a shop zone that will be opening up at our website. You'll be able to purchase T-shirts, little memorabilia type of items to represent. And as soon as more information on that becomes available, I'll definitely share it with you all. But I know an email I had got the other day, a listener had asked when was T-shirts coming because he wanted to support us and spread the word, and he thought getting a T-shirt would be the cool way to do that. So hope that answers your question, buddy. All right, so let's go on ahead and let's talk about what had went down on Friday Night Smackdown, in case you might have missed it. And this is my favorite part of the show because I love kicking back and talking about Smackdown. Somebody had asked me the other day, they said, how come you don't do a Smackdown post show? That's because that's my rest day, man. Friday, I like to kick back. I like to get my drink on with friends. I like to kick back and chill, and I'll watch SmackDown. I just don't tweet about it, nothing. That's just my little slice of heaven. I'm just kicking back, watching it just like many of you all, except I'm not taking to social media to talk about it. I'm just chilling usually. If I'm not watching SmackDown, I'm usually doing something else, but usually Friday's my rest day. I'm just chilling, but I do love watching SmackDown. Let's pick it up on one of the main highlights from it. We saw good old JR, Jim Ross. He interviewed Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter, and man, this was intense. It had me think back to those good old days when JR was getting in the ring and interviewing folks, and he had the WWF blazer jacket going on, and he used to get in the ring. And he used to be at the receiving end of a lot of ass whoopings back in his day. But this was a very interesting segment that he had here because he was trying to get thoughts from Jack Swagger, but Zeb Coulter just kept interrupting him. And it should be pointed out that Zeb Coulter, Jack Swagger, they were just so peed off with the job that Miz had did interviewing them. They were trying to go with a guy that they felt had a lot of integrity and respect. So that's why we got JR. Not to mention they were in Oklahoma, so go figure. You got to have a little cameo by JR. And, we saw Jim Ross. He was asking some pretty important questions to Jack Swagger, pointing out how just 5 months ago he was at the receiving end of losing streaks, just loss after loss, and then he went on a 5-month sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. He comes back, and now it kind of looks as though he's being brainwashed what's going on. And we actually see Zeb Coulter, who's just doing all the talking for Swagger, say he hasn't been brainwashed. If he was brainwashed at any time, it was while you and the WWE had him. I've just heightened his senses and have made him see what truly is going on in this world. And Jack Swagger, he's not really saying anything. I mean, he is really into this whole new character. I'm loving it right now. I mean, I think it's kind of funny at times that Zeb Coulter does all of the talking and we see Jack Swagger. The only thing he's got to add to it is we the people. But, I that's enough for me, though. I can dig that. And it got pretty hostile as Jim Ross, he just kept continuing on with his questions to Jack Swagger, Zeb Coulter interrupting. Jim Ross damn near had enough and was trying to tell Coulter to politely shut up, and looked as if Jim Ross was about to get a beatdown when Alberto Del Rio comes out. And this definitely was a smart booking move on WWE, because what better way to try to have somebody you're trying very hard to get over as a babyface, somebody you're trying to have get over with the WWE Universe, than to have, Alberto Del Rio come to the rescue of Jim Ross. I mean, hey, it worked when they were doing it with Ryback, right, folks? Right, so why not make it happen again? So I thought they did a pretty good job with the way they had handled that particular interview piece, as Alberto Del Rio once again telling Jack Swagger that, you are nothing more than a jackass, and, I can't wait to face you at WrestleMania. So, they're just continuing to build that hype towards that match, and I'm loving that. Other key points we saw from Smackdown, speaking of Alberto Del Rio, turns out he awarded somebody the opportunity to face him for the World Heavyweight title on next week's Smackdown, and the WWE Universe was able to take to social media to choose who they want to face him for the title. And the selections were Dolph Ziggler, Wade Barrett, and Antonio Cesaro. Winning with over 51% of the votes was the one and only Mr. Show-Off himself, Dolph Ziggler. So he'll be facing Alberto Del Rio next week. But I can't help but wonder what's going to happen on SmackDown here. Dolph Ziggler, AJ Lee, Big E, Langston. If there was ever a time right here where we could possibly see the briefcase get cashed in. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a done deal, that it's officially going to happen. But if there was ever a time to flirt with the idea, I think that next Friday night would be a really good opportunity. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how SmackDown plays out next week. Other key points that we saw from SmackDown this week, we saw Randy Orton in the main event as he took on Big Show. And Sheamus was talking with Randy Orton throughout the night, telling him that, Shield, they're going to be looking for payback for what they had did to them on Monday night. And Randy Orton, he told him, well, look, if you're going to have my back, okay, cool, thanks. And sure enough, Shield did pop up, and they proceeded to beat down Sheamus and Randy Orton. And bad point right here, though, we actually saw one of the Shield members bump into Big Show, and Big Show just did a devastating WMD punch. I believe it was, don't quote me on this, it might have been Seth Rollins that had got the punch. I'm not really sure, but we saw a pissed-off Giant look on. Just when you thought that maybe Big Show was possibly going to turn face, you're kind of reminded quickly that Big Show is just one angry freaking Giant, as he did a choke slam to Randy Orton, but afterwards he would get a devastating brogue kick from Sheamus to close out the show. But now it looks as though Big Show has a huge bullseye on his back, folks, as he could be at the receiving end of a devastating beatdown from the Shield. Now, we've been hearing those rumblings that Big Show has been having contract problems with the WWE. Now, whether or not that's been resolved, who knows? But if there's ever a time to possibly flirt with the idea of having Big Show be taken off of TV while they try to continue negotiations, or if Big Show is done, man, what good way to have Big Show go out than to have the Shield just totally destroy him. I'm telling you guys right now, look for some type of interaction between the Shield members and Big Show this Monday night on Raw. It would not surprise me one little bit if they try to beat him down. And if it gets to that point where possibly we could see the Shield in a tag match at WrestleMania, then I would suspect that Big Show would be part of that, but would be on the opposing end. So should be very interesting to see how this continues to play out. But right now, Big Show, big bullseye on his back. And that's going to do it for your SmackDown recap, folks. Not really too much had happened on that particular episode. Definitely the main takeaways was everything that I had pointed out. All right, so let's talk about the very latest in what's going on with Ring of Honor Wrestling, one of my favorite parts of the show. You know, they're actually doing something today. And if you happen to be in the area of Virginia, I believe it is, Waynesboro, you definitely want to check that out. Actually, correction, forgive me, folks, it's actually not at Waynesboro. It's in Chicago, Illinois that they're going to be in tonight, as they're going to be presenting the 11th anniversary pay-per-view. as World Heavyweight Champion Kevin Steen will be defending his title against Jay Lethal. The Briscoes will be defending the Ring of Honor World Tag titles against Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly. Michael Elgin will be taking on Roderick Strong. Charlie Haas will be taking on B.J. Whitmer. And the American Wolves will be facing the Forever Hooligans. All of this is scheduled, and you can see the full card, purchase tickets. You can even order it on iPay-per-view right now, so be sure that you check that out. That's going to be pretty awesome. And in TNA wrestling-related news, it looks like Jeff Hardy is going to be taking on Bully Ray at tonight's live TNA event in the Bicentennial Center, and Salina, I believe that's Kentucky there, or Kansas rather. It's going to be at 7:30 p.m. James Storm will be taking on Mr. Anderson. Austin Aries will be taking on Chavo Guerrero. Gail Kim will be facing ODB. Samoa Joe will be facing Garrett Bischoff. And Magnus will be taking on Doc from Aces and Eights. So some pretty good stuff right there. Check all that out. I got a little bit of Ric Flair news for you all. Looks like he's going to be appearing at a baseball card show this Sunday morning. It's going to go from 11 a.m. to noon. It's going to be at the Valley Forge Convention Center in King of Persia, Pittsburgh. Go check that out. See the Nature Boy in action. And it looks like TNA star Hulk Hogan is going to be scheduled for a Q&A event at WrestleCon during WrestleMania weekend. Now, Legends of the Ring is currently marketing these as exclusive, uncensored fan Q&A sessions with the Hulkster. Now, Legends of the Ring has just announced that TNA producer Eric Bischoff will also be joining Hogan during the Q&A session. So that should be pretty interesting right there. And as I had said earlier, TNA Impact Wrestling ratings, in case you might have missed it, this past Thursday night had scored a 1.14 rating, up 10% from last week, as the ratings for it had came in at 1.02. And in other wrestling-related news, you know how we do it over here. We got to continue to hook you guys up. Triple H had noted on Twitter earlier that he's going to be heading to the Arnold Classic today to support WWF and future WWE Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino, as he's going to be inducted to the International Sports Hall of Fame. And, folks, if you had missed our interview with Bruno Sammartino, as we were one of the first shows to get a exclusive interview with him, you definitely want to make sure that you check that out. It was an interview that, to this day, I'm definitely very proud of. I had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of folks this past year, but that, for me, was definitely a really good interview. You want to make sure you check it out. We were talking for about 45 minutes. It was some really great stuff. And I should also point out to you that we had a little bit of a hiccup. Sometimes I like to, when I have special guests come onto the show like Bruno Sammartino, sometimes I like to do special things, especially for our listeners and just wrestling fans in general. And I will not mention the wrestling website, but there was a website that I had communicated with. I believe I was talking with the webmaster or one of the people that post articles on the site, and I had gave them a transcript of the interview that we had did with Bruno Sammartino. And that transcript is available in its entirety on our Facebook page, just in case you don't want to listen to the episode. And I made it be available to them, and I thought for sure they were going to run right with it, as it was some really good stuff. Turns out they didn't, and this website, they actually ended up stealing a lot of the questions that I had asked Mr. Sammartino and used it for their own interview. And it's just one of those things where, unfortunately, from here on out, when it comes to that particular website, at least, I'm definitely not going to be sharing wrestling news with them. So this is a special message to our listeners, and we get asked all the time, how can I spread the word about your show? How can I spread the word about the website? This is my message to you guys. If there is a particular episode that you like, definitely let me know. If it's a case where, you want to try to maybe share it on a website, definitely, email us, let us know. We had a really ugly situation where somebody had thought they could take our entire Bruno Sammartino interview and load it on their channel, and basically they make money off of it. And that's the thing. I don't think that's fair to you guys, because we aren't making money off of the interviews, exclusive interviews from guests that come by. Any money that we do make, it goes right into the shows and the website to be able to have it all continue to go. We never pocket a dime. So, if you want to help us out spreading the word about a particular episode, or if there's a particular article you like, you can spread it out, but don't do like some people. And this guy, he really kind of gave some people, some of us, a black eye with the way that he had operated, as he took a couple of our episodes and uploaded them. You don't want to do that. Instead, what you want to do is you want to take the Twitter, you want to take the Facebook, you want to say, hey, I was just listening to this really cool episode. I think you guys need to check it out. It's at blah, blah, blah. Word of mouth. That's how, that never fails. Operate that way. And with regards to the Bruno Sammartino piece, as I said, parts of our interview were stolen, and as a result of that, we're no longer going to be sharing wrestling-related news with this particular website. So special shout-out for you guys that love going to wrestling websites. If there's folks that you happen to communicate with that are pretty cool and will definitely take any type of wrestling news as long as it's legit, definitely let us know the name of the website and who to talk to, and we'll definitely share it with you guys, because apparently we had some people that wasn't even aware that we had Bruno coming by the show. But the episode itself, it did pretty damn freaking good. Probably one of the most strongest interviews and shows that we've produced yet. But just a little FYI for you guys. I meant to tell you guys about that this past week, but I said I was going to bring it up at a later date, so just thought I'd do it now. Other wrestling-related news I got for you guys. I mean, it's pretty much been a quiet week, but I thought this was very interesting. It looks like TNA may have possibly regained direct auto insurance. Remember, they've been kind of missing there for a little bit, but it looks like direct auto insurance, they announced that they're going to be sponsoring the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view that's going to be coming up March 10th. And they've actually announced a meet and greet with Hernandez and Velvet Sky on March 8th at one of their stores in San Antonio. So if you're in the San Antonio area, you definitely want to make sure you figure out which direct auto insurance store it's going to be to go meet and greet them. And also, looks like local direct auto insurance stores near the San Antonio area will also be offering people a chance to win TNA prize packs, which include TNA DVDs, T-shirts, and tickets to the Lockdown pay-per-view. Way to be giving away tickets to a pretty important pay-per-view. I would hope that the tickets aren't going to be flying out there like that. Hopefully it's a select number of folks that's going to be winning it. Otherwise, ooh, daddy, I don't know. Hey, did you guys see Chris Jericho's new show, Robot Combat League? If you haven't yet, you guys are freaking missing out. I mean, the numbers for the show has just been ridiculous. And, I mean, don't take my word for it. You'll be hooked on it within the first 5 minutes. I guarantee it. If you remember the Rock'em Sock'em robots in the ring there, and you're just pressing the button, and it was the red robot versus the blue robot knocking each other out till the head pops up. If you remember and love that type of stuff, Chris Jericho's new show is definitely the place you want to be. Great freaking series. Comes on, I believe, every Tuesday night, but my God, man, if you don't catch it on Tuesdays, they are just showing reruns of it like all freaking week long. It's ridiculous. It's unscripted. and everybody just has their own unique robots that they are just taking into combat. It's really great stuff, and girls would definitely dig it. Let me tell you, I definitely feel, we know how, for us fellas, we know how some girls are. They look at some of the stuff that we check out, and some of them, they think it's a little bit too squeamish, they think it's a little bit too silly. This is actually one that a lot of girls can definitely get into. All right, so we're going to be taking another commercial break, and when we come right back, we're going to part ways from the talk of wrestling, and we're going to bring you the very latest and what all has been happening locally, some crazy stuff, and we'll also cover the very latest in entertainment news. So we'll go ahead, we'll take one last commercial break, but then when we come right back, we'll jump right into it all. Back, I'm your host, Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Gazrael, Lee Sanders. So I thought this was a little bit interesting here. It's really stupid, too. So apparently a woman is suing FedEx over marijuana delivery, all right? Now, oh, my God, you can't make this stuff up. Mary Angela Tobin, she says that a parcel containing 7 pounds of weed was wrongfully delivered to her address, and it was left there in a way where apparently FedEx, they actually gave her address to whoever the person was that the package was intended for, as this guy comes up to her house and he's asking if there's a FedEx package for him, and at this point she had already opened up the box, saw what was in there. She tells him no, there's no package. He asks again, and she bolts her door, as she described it, and shuts the door, and then she immediately calls the cops and tells them what all had went down. And she actually thought that initially this package was a present for her daughter, as she thought it was a birthday present. So I guess the daughter's birthday was maybe on that day or a couple of days prior, I don't know, or who cares. But the point is, she called the cops, and they arrested the guy that came to the house to get this weed package. Now, here's the thing that just rattles my mind, right? This Mary Angela chick, she sits up, she tells the news reporters on camera, mind you, that she fears for her and her daughter's safety, as she's not really sure what the ramifications may be now that this guy has been arrested, and she is just really rattled by this whole experience, and she's suing FedEx. Now, this lawsuit is pending. Now, I don't know that much about law, but I can tell you guys, quite honestly, she definitely has something here. She definitely has a case. I think sister is going to get paid. But here's the thing that I think is a little bit stupid. You say you're terrified for you and your daughter, you fear you all safety, you don't know what's to come because of this guy getting arrested, and who else might know about this weed that was delivered to the house. Okay, well, that's fine if you're terrified. I get that, sister. But here's the thing. Why are you going in front of news cameras to express all this? Now we know your face. We kind of have an idea of where the house is, so why are you putting yourself out there? Now, see, guys, it'd be one thing if she sat up and she talked to the news reporters off camera and her voice was disguised. We only see a silhouette of her, and, she's talking. That'd be one thing. You want to get your story out there. I can respect that. But to go in front of cameras, la-di-la-di-da, here I am, look at me, and, honestly, she didn't seem too terrified to me from the clips that I saw of her. She was kicking back, making pizza for her and her daughter, it just kind of, here's my whole thing. If you're that terrified, right, you're going to not only do what I just said a few seconds ago, but based on the ring that I saw on her finger, I was able to see all this in just a matter of seconds. She has a ring on her finger. That lets me know that she's married. Where's the husband? Why not make it look like it's not you and your daughter that live home alone there, like there's no man in the house. Why not have a sit-down interview with the reporters, with, the wife, the husband. We don't need the little girl, but, we can have the wife and the husband there. And if there's a dog, maybe, based on what type of dog it is. I mean, hell, if it's a Pekingese, you can forget about it. Everybody's going to be like, Pekingese, get the hell, But if you got a big, big dog, maybe they could have showed that. That way it kind of looks like, we can't really mess with them. It's a full house there. But you just say, okay, it's just me and my daughter. It's like, really? And you're terrified, and you're making pizza. That's all I got to say about that. I just think that that's stupid. But I do think she's going to get paid from FedEx. And some of you guys were making some really funny jokes about this. Some of you said she should have went with UPS. Hell, UPS, they would have just thrown the damn box on the lawn and just kept on going. She wouldn't even known that it was there. But, honestly, I'm surprised that FedEx has done some type of a stunt like this. This is the first time I've ever heard this type of a problem. I know in my previous experience, and I'm sure many of you listening, you've probably experienced this as well. You get a wrong package. It's tempting, especially when you see that your name isn't on it. You're like, I wonder what's in here. Is there any, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to do the right thing, and you're going to take the package to your next door neighbor, and you're going to be done with it. My whole thing is, number one, and see, now that I'm going over this, I'm not so sure if she has a lawsuit here, because the thing, and it's the $1 million question that I'm very concerned about right now. Was it her name that was on the box? That's the thing. See, usually when packages come to your door, everybody, you all operate like this now. Come on, join me on this. Normally when a package comes to the door, you look at the name, right? You make sure that it is for you, and then you have at it, right, boys and girls? That's how we usually operate. So number one, my whole thing is, was the name, her name, on that FedEx package? If it was not and she opened it up, then what she committed was something illegal. You're not supposed to be opening other people's mail. Now that I'm thinking about it, I actually recall a scenario where FedEx, surprisingly, and this was about 5-6 years ago, FedEx had delivered a package to me, and it was not mine. I was expecting a package from them, but it wasn't mine. It had belonged to a next-door neighbor's. I took it to them. Now, same scenario, just like this woman here, okay? FedEx, they delivered a package I was expecting. It never came. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Where's my freaking package? So it turns out, after like 20 minutes on the phone, FedEx, they gave the package to the house next door. So I went over to the house next door. I said, hi, I'm sorry to disturb you, but I was told that FedEx, they accidentally delivered my package here. Oh, yes, indeed. Here you go. Okay, thank you. Now, see, the right thing for this lady to have done was go, yeah, the package did come. I hope that this was a mix-up. Please don't ever let something like this happen again. I do not want to be associated with this. You've been warned. If this happens again, you're going to be arrested. I'll see to it. We don't know if this weed was being used for medical use, if this weed was purchased from somebody to give to a family member that has a medical problem. I mean, this sister just, totally flipped the hell out, in my honest opinion. But I'm very curious, what was the name on the box? We'll definitely be paying attention to that one. And I'll be watching this lawsuit very closely to see how this plays out. But keep those in your mind, in the back of your head there, what I pointed out. And in other entertainment news, let's go right into it, boys and girls. So I had recently sat down and I had listened to David Bowie's new album called The Next Day. And this album is now streaming on iTunes, and it'll be streaming right on up until the album's release on March 12th. And I actually listened to this, and it was a damn good album, I must say. I enjoyed all the tracks, and, you know, we should point out to you guys that this is David Bowie's 24th studio album, and it's his first album since his 2003 Reality, which had received a little bit of mixed reviews. This time around, for this particular album, this one was produced by Tony Visconti, and the record label is ISO Records Columbia, and I really enjoyed this album. I haven't gotten a hold of the deluxe edition yet, so what's available right now is the American version stream that you can hear on iTunes. I enjoyed there's 14 tracks right now that's streaming. I enjoyed The Next Day, Dirty Boys, Stars Are Out Tonight, Love Is Lost, Valentine's Day, I'd Rather Be High, You Will Set the World on Fire. 14 tracks. I would definitely have to say there's at least 8 to 9 tracks that I really enjoyed. And I'm usually not one that likes to push David Bowie like that. There's only particular songs that I like to hear. I'm not like a David Bowie album collector or anything like that, but I would have to say that this album definitely is better than the last album that he did, which I did listen to in its entirety. I enjoyed the Next Day album more, and it's been receiving a lot of rave reviews right now. I know Rolling Stones, they gave it a 4 out of 5. Times, they gave it a 4 out of 5. NME, they gave it an 8 out of 10. The Guardian, they gave it a 4 out of 5. Billboard, it's got a 91% rating. BBC Music, they've given it a very positive rating. So, I mean, this is definitely a very well-produced album by David Bowie, and he really answers the question that he's not dead at all, as there was just rampant rumors flying around, it seems like year after year, that he was sick, he's dying, and that's why he hasn't been making new music. And I mean, honestly, we didn't say all this silly crap when it came to Robert Plant, who just popped up one day like he hasn't been gone forever. I mean, sometimes it's like that. Some musicians, they just get to a point in their life where after they've put out so much music, and in David Bowie's case, I mean, he really doesn't owe anybody any freaking album. At this point, before this album, he had 23 studio albums under his belt. He doesn't owe the fans anything. I mean, he's made some damn good music, and he's made a ton of money doing it. He's been able to get to a point where he's able to live comfortably. If he ends up putting out more material, it's just because of the love, it's for the passion, it's for the whole desire of creating music, and I think this was definitely a case with this new album, and it just really comes off like he just has really taken his time with each track. Now, before you ask, looks like David Bowie, he may not be going on tour to aggressively promote this album. Looks as though he's probably going to be kicking back, and he may just only play a select few gigs and may just so happen to play a couple of songs from this album, but he's not going to be doing a aggressive tour. At least that's what early reports are. That's coming in. That's what's being said right now. And I got some Stone Temple Pilot news for you guys. We know they've been making waves all freaking week. It looks like Stone Temple Pilots, they have fired lead singer Scott Weiland. And this just comes as a major freaking shock, as we had first saw the band reunite, what was that, just a little bit before 2008. Then they have produced the self-titled Stone Temple Pilots album, which for the first time did not have Brendan O'Brien as its producer. And the album met a lot of lackluster reviews, probably one of the weakest Stone Temple Pilots albums that you will ever come across, quite honestly. This is one album, and I tried to show loyalty where I could, but this was one Stone Temple Pilots album. To this day, I refuse to have it in my iTunes library. I listened to that album twice in its entirety, and at both points there was a big gap from times that I did listen, and I just could not go with that album. Bad album. But, a lot of people, they were wondering, what the hell is going on? Stone Temple Pilots were doing pretty good. What's the problem here? Well, Scott Weiland, he recently did an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, and it wasn't even to talk about what was going down with STP. It was actually to talk about the upcoming solo tour that he'll be embarking on, as he's going to be playing several hit songs from Stone Temple Pilots' Core and Purple album, mixed in with some of his own new material, as he's currently in the studio getting ready to produce a new album. It's going to be coming out, I believe, later this spring. And he was asked about what was going on with Stone Temple Pilots, and he basically told them, look, there's no way that they can fire me. I don't know where you're hearing these rumors from, but it's false. And Rolling Stones, they told him, well, STP, they released a statement. They said they've cut all ties with you. And Scott Weiland, he told them there's just no way that he could possibly be out of Stone Temple Pilots because he fronted the band, and plus the way that the contract is set up, if they even try to go outside of STP without him, then it will not be STP. So whatever it is that the DeLeo brothers are working on, be it a new band, it's not going to be called STP. They're going to have to possibly buy Weiland out or whatever. And remember, this all had came off of a bad rumor that had came out a couple of months back, where former Guns N' Roses guitarist and Velvet Revolver guitarist Slash had said that Stone Temple Pilots had fired Weiland, and Weiland even taking a shot at Slash, saying that Slash is lying, he doesn't know what he's talking about, that he and the DeLeo brothers, everybody is just really cool, that they've had their rocky spots in the past, but that everything is good. And very revealing interview that it was, as Weiland went on to say that what's going on right now is they're in a transition period, and Weiland, as much as he would like to continue to play music with STP, he would really love for there to be new injection. He would love for there to be a new album that could be produced. And he's tired of going around just playing the same hits, and how they've turned down several gigs in the past because he doesn't want to be one of those walking, touring jukeboxes. Now, pause right there. Now, he's putting that out there, yet he's going to be playing several STP songs from their main top two albums, Core and Purple. I don't know about you guys, but that just kind of sounds pretty weird to me. Some people pointed out that maybe this is a case right here where Scott Weiland is trying to take a bigger cut for himself and doesn't really want to share profits with STP members. Not really sure what this is right here, but take it for what it's worth. He's denying the reports right now that he's been fired from STP. More information on this as it becomes available, but you're hearing this, first thing you're saying to yourself, this is hilarious, this is stupid, it makes no freaking sense, what's going on? And honestly, some people, they'll be very critical of Scott Weiland. They'll say that his solo efforts, it's been crap. Honestly, I'll jump out there. I thought 12 Bars was a great solo debut from him. I love that album. That's actually an album that I still go back to this very day. I've enjoyed that album more than the later stuff that he's put out. Now, I will jump out there and I will say this. The second solo album that he put out there, because, I mean, he just went all over the place. I really wasn't too keen on that particular one. I know recently he put out a Christmas holiday album. That one, he sounds kind of drunk on that album, but, you know, it's Scott Weiland. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. But honestly, I think that if STP is going to survive, they definitely need to produce new music. And I think they need to go back to their classic roots and honestly reach back out to Brendan O'Brien. I mean, he's done a phenomenal work for them in the past. They should do something with him again. Or maybe they could hook up with Butch Vig from Garbage. I mean, he's produced some pretty good stuff as well. Let's not forget Nevermind, Foo Fighters, Wasting Light. Maybe he can do something with them. Who knows? But more on this as soon as more information on this as soon as it becomes available. RZA has filed a lawsuit after sampling infringements had came about. That's right. Now, RZA, he's striking back in a huge way against sampling infringement allegations that have resulted in what he feels is lost income. Wu-Tang Clan leader is unhappy with Island Def Jam over withholding over $50,000 in royalties based on allegations that his 2010 song with Kanye West called Dark Fantasy contains uncleared recordings from Tekaku Entertainment. RZA filed a lawsuit this week against JVC Kenwood Holdings, a multinational company that includes Tekaku. So, ouch, right there. Now, according to the Hollywood Reporter, RZA alleges that in the suit he was told Dark Fantasy sported a sample of Kineko Watordo performed by Miko Kaja, and Tekaku wanted compensation. That led Island Def Jam, Kanye West label, to withhold royalty payments to RZA. An attorney with Takachu says that they made a claim last June, but disagreements over a settlement offer have led to the lawsuit. RZA's goal right now is to secure a declaration from the court that the track is not an infringement, a proactive strategy. He's not the only artist who's faced this type of situation before. Most recently, West, the Beastie Boys, Madonna, Jay-Z, and others have faced sampling lawsuits this year. So, ouch, is all I got to say about that. Hey, you remember those Lonely Boys? Well, it looks like Henry Garza, he had got sent to the hospital after a pretty bad stage fall. Now, this all had went down Tuesday at a show in Los Angeles at the Downey Civic Center. And after the band said, Garza walked towards the front of the stage to greet fans, but he fell into the orchestra pit. And his brother, Joey, had quickly jumped down to assist him. Afterwards, he was transported to the hospital. The doctors are observing him right now, make sure that not that much trauma was done to him, and make sure there also wasn't significant spinal or neck injury damage. So more on that as soon as we're able to get a hold of it. Got some Pearl Jam fans listening right now? If so, got some news for you guys. Looks like Pearl Jam's Mike McCready and former Guns N' Roses bassist Duff McKagan, they formed a new supergroup with former Screaming Trees drummer Barrett Martin. Now, the new group is currently unnamed, and the band is looking into tapping into a vocalist to help out with new ideas and old. Now, this is all pretty much stemming from when McCready and McKagan, they kicked back and they were listening to some unreleased work from Mad Season as a reissue release of that album, one and only album at that, Above, is due for a release April 2nd. Remember, we were talking about that on last weekend's RCWR show, and they all were just kicking back, just enjoying remixing some of the music, and they had a lot of ideas that were in their head, and they decided to do a little bit of jamming out, and now they're just in the process of trying to find a singer to hook up with them. Now, Mike McCready, he's going to be very, very busy because also this year we're going to be seeing the release of a new Pearl Jam album. So this guy is everywhere, folks. And we got a little bit of sad news we need to report to you guys in case you might have missed it. Former Temptation singer Richard Street had passed away at the age of 70. Now, he was with the Temptations for 25 years, and he had died in a Las Vegas hospital after a short illness. This is all according to his wife and a report by the Associated Press. He joined the Temptations in the early 70s, singing on classics such as Superstar, Remember How You Got Where You Are, and Papa Was a Rolling Stone. And he performed with many Motown acts after he left for Detroit in the 70s there, as he did continue to stay with the Temptations right on up until the mid-90s, it should be pointed out. Now, after his departure from the group, he began to tour and perform as a solo act and sometimes as a duo with fellow Temptation Otis Damian Harris, who had just died a few days ago. So, man, you keep hearing about these deaths from the Temptations, and it's like, man, we're just slowly getting to Otis right there. Otis is that last heartbeat, that last original of the Temptations. It's definitely going to be a very sad day when he dies. We got some Dave Chappelle fans. If so, you may find this very interesting. Looks like Dave Chappelle, he made a rare appearance at a New York comedy event. It was called the Comedy Cellar, and looks like Chappelle, he has spent the past week in New York dropping by this club, regularly featured in Louis C.K.'s show, Louis, to test out new material. And looks like he did some stuff solo for about 45 minutes when he was joined by Chris Rock, and it looks like it's possibly going to be a tour, a comedy tour between these two guys. You know, hey, sounds pretty damn good to me. I love Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is a funny motherfucker. I was very sad to see when Chappelle's show had ended abruptly because he decided he wanted to go to Africa. And Dave Chappelle, truly a hilarious freaking guy. Honestly, that's one guy I would not mind seeing on TV right about now. I would just love to see him give his take on some of these ridiculous reality shows that we just continue to get on a regular basis. I mean, there is so much good material that's out there right now. Just from TV alone, I think Chappelle would have a freaking field day with it. And if we have some Kiss fans, I got a little bit of sad news for you guys. Looks like Ace Frehley, he's facing foreclosure as the former Kiss guitarist reportedly owes over $700,000 for his New York home. Looks like he hasn't paid his mortgage in almost 2 years. And it looks like he stopped paying his $735,000 mortgage as of March 1st, 2011, and it looks like there's a foreclosure filing that was issued on February 15th where the bank had asked the court to order the sale of the home for the outstanding amount owed, plus interest and other expenses. Ouch. I wonder if Gene Simmons and crew may possibly come to the rescue. Pretty sad to hear stuff like that. We got to clear up a report that we had made last week. It turns out Janet Jackson is not engaged to her current boyfriend, Wissam Almana, after all. Actually, on the contrary, they've been married since December, folks. Definitely want to pass that information along to you all. It looks like they had a very quiet ceremony. They didn't want to have it be all glittered up and hyped up in the media and all that. They just quietly did their thing, and hey, I'm glad to hear that. My whole thing is, though, I'm still waiting to see Janet Jackson get knocked up. I thought for sure Jermaine Dupri was going to be the one to do that, but I guess things work out for the best, you know. When I think of Jermaine Dupri, don't even get me started, man. That guy kind of He's small. He just, I don't know, man. He kind of reminds me of one of those Star Trek creatures from Deep Space Nine. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a Ferengi or something. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, don't pay me no mind. But if you're a Star Trek fan, I think you'll get a nice little chuckle out of that, and you'll probably agree with me on that. I got a twofer news for you guys. Way to close out Black History Month is what I got to say right here. Bobby Brown, MC Hammer, both of these guys had some serious legal problems to close out Black History Month of all month February. And let's start with Bobby Brown. This is ridiculous, man. Bobby Brown was just recently sentenced to 55 days in jail after acknowledging in court he was caught driving drunk last year near Los Angeles. Now, he didn't appear in the courtroom, but his attorney did enter a plea of no contest to the charges of driving while under the influence and driving on a suspended license. So the singer is going to be reporting to jail later this month, and afterwards he'll be on probation. Very, very sad to hear. It looks like Bobby Brown hasn't learned a damn thing, quite honestly. Very, very sad. And MC Hammer, looks like he was arrested in Northern California, on Thursday for allegedly obstructing an officer. This is a report from CNN. The rapper made the arrest known on Saturday with a series of tweets suggesting he was a victim of racial profiling. Hammer, of course, real name Stanley Kurt, was reportedly sitting in a car outside of a shopping center in Dublin, city east of Oakland, when he was approached by a police officer. And MC Hammer had quoted this officer as looking like a chubby Elvis-looking dude, was tapping on my car window. I rolled down the window, and he said, "Are you on parole or probation?" While I was handing him my ID, he reached in my car and tried to pull me out the car, but forgot he was on a steady donut diet. It was comical to me until he pulled out his gun, blew his whistle, and yelled for help. But make no mistake, he's dangerous. Only thing more dangerous than a scared man with a gun is a scared man with an agenda, a gun, and a badge. I was cited for obstruction. So much hate. Very interesting right here. Now, according to Dublin police, Hammer was actually in a vehicle with expired registration, and he wasn't the owner of that vehicle. After asking Hammer who the registered owner was, he became very argumentative and refused to answer the officer's questions. This is according to a police spokesperson that had spoke with CNN. Hammer was then arrested on suspicion of resisting an officer and obstructing an officer in the performance of his duties, at which point he was booked and released on bail from San Rita jail. And looks like he has a court date that's going to be coming up next month. We'll be paying very close attention to that for you guys. But way to wrap up Black History Month. MC Hammer, Bobby Brown, giving African Americans everywhere a black eye, including myself. All right, let's see if we could try to end it on a lighter note. Let's give you guys something a little bit more positive. Questlove of the Roots looks like he's going to be recounting his own experiences in a memoir, if you will, that's going to be coming up. It's called Mo Meta Blues, The World According to Questlove. It's part memoir, part cultural study, as the Roots drummer will touch on growing up in Philadelphia in the 70s, rise of the Roots, interactions with other musicians, celebrities on the road. It's going to lead right on up to him working as the band leader on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. Very interested to see how that book is. I'm sure that's going to be a damn good read. It's going to be due June 18th through Grand Central Publishing, and we'll definitely give you guys an honest review of that on a future episode as soon as it becomes available. Promise you guys. And other than that, boys and girls, that is pretty much it. Well, there was one thing that did come across my eyes that I do want to share with you guys. If you happen to have any Nine Inch Nails fans, I want to give you guys a heads up right now. Looks like Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, there is going to be a new album there's some new material in the works, as Lesnar had confirmed that he's in the process of rebuilding 9 Inch Nails with an entirely new lineup, and this lineup includes bassist Eric Avery, formerly of Jane's Addiction, guitarist Adrian Blue, King Crimson, keyboardist Alessandro Cortini, 9 Inch Nails, keyboardist Josh Estes, producer Telefon Tel Aviv, try saying that 5 times fast, and drummer Island Rubin, 9 Inch Nails Lost Profits. So that's going to be the new lineup. They're going to be touring this year. Their first show is going to begin in the summer, followed by a full arena tour of the U.S. this fall, as dates will be announced shortly throughout 2014. So very interesting news right there. Hey, I'm glad 9 Inch Nails is back on the saddle again. Personally, though, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I thought when 9 Inch Nails with Teeth had came out, I thought Dave Grohl did just a phenomenal job on the drumming that he did on some of the tracks. I thought, man, go back to Dave Grohl. I mean, he's really not really doing too much of anything. By the way, Foo Fighters alert, they will be working on a new album. Dave Grohl confirmed that. I believe it was earlier this week or last week. He is going to be going into the studio with the boys again, and they are going to try to follow up on Wasting Light. There is no ETA on when this album is going to be coming out. It'll come out when they're good and ready. So, hey, we know that they are at a place right now where they got families and kids running around. They can take their time. As long as it's as good or better than Wasting Light, I'm all fine for it. But I would have thought that Trent Reznor would have reached out to Grohl there and be like, yo, you want to get in on this next album, maybe go on tour? But, hey, it is what it is. But I can't wait to see how this new lineup does. All right, quick programming note. The weekend edition of the RCWR show, it will not be on next Saturday. In its place will be our Call That Match special, as we'll be offering match predictions for the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view. Weekend edition of the RCWR show will be returning on March 16th. Once again, next Saturday, March 9th, the weekend edition of the RCWR show will be replaced by our Call That Match special, offering match predictions for the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view. Weekend edition of the RCWR show will be back March 16th at its regular time. Talk of wrestling and beyond may end right here, but check us out at our website at InfinityOneProductions.com, where we cover so much more than wrestling. We try to give you a little bit of everything. And for news you can use, like us on Facebook at InfinityOneProductions.com. We got Old School WWE Raw that's going to be coming our way this Monday night. And for you all that are subscribers to our YouTube channel, you guys will get my thoughts Monday night right after Raw goes off the air, as I do a special 30-minute post show. So make sure you check that out. I'll be back with the one and only Diamond K this Tuesday night for the weekend. I'll be back with Diamond K this Tuesday night for the Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show. You'll be able to catch that at 11 p.m. Eastern. Hey, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes that you might have missed. We put out some damn good stuff this week. Also some really good interviews. Remember, I was talking about the Bruno Sammartino piece there. Go backtrack, check it all out if you haven't yet. Episodes available for free for your downloading, listening pleasure in the iTunes, Zune, Stitcher marketplaces. Just use the keywords, the RCWR show. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and until I hear from you all this Monday and Tuesday night, you all be safe and be kind to one another, folks. We will see you next time around. Have a good weekend. Take care.